Alright, so hello to anyone who may be listening. This is the first devlog for the development of what's going to be the sequel to the first of the 6 games I made at the Savannah College of Art and Design while studying interactive design and game development. The game is called Maximum Velocity. I made this game in basically my Intro to Unreal class. It was made over the course of 10 weeks. To a pretty loose but existent set of specifications, which included things like using a key to unlock something and a branching ending at the end of the game. So I am going to go ahead and boot it up. This game had very little focus on art. You can see kind of one art asset in the whole game here, and that is this warp kind of thing at the back. And that was taken from the marketplace because I had no idea how to do effects at the time. Even still, this kind of effect would probably challenge me. But I'll go ahead and hit play. You can see the scale is actually a little bigger than we would have initially thought here. Oh man, I'm not used to mouse sensitivities this high, but for this game you kind of need one. So this is a first-person platformer. The core gimmick is essentially reverse super hot. The faster you go, the slower time moves. So, I'm going to go ahead and press the button to get this game started. Oh man, it's hard to... That's why there's some button somewhere it's going to let me walk. I'm not remembering what it is. Well, we'll just have to press it manually. Boop. Hey, here we go. We come out of warp, hyperspace, whatever you want to call it. And uh-oh. What the fuck happened to my reactor core? I feel like the prologue was supposed to play. Because I didn't hit that? I don't know, something is skipped there, I think. Okay, but here we go. So we have to recover a new reactor core. And we have our momentum redirection gun, which does that, basically. So basically, if you're going at a wall, you're going to start sliding in the other direction. The most useful way generally to do this, to do a 180, which I'm not doing very precisely because of this mouse sensitivity thing. I'm actually going to lower it on my mouse a little bit. Ooh. There we go. Okay, I'm more used to something like that. And you can see we've got a timer on this whole game, but we can actually move pretty... We can extend that timer pretty significantly by going pretty fast. So that first puzzle was a button. That gate over there only lets you through if you go fast. That's one of the... You don't have to even go that fast. I believe this one is manually coded to be pretty slow to let you through. But that's, you know, one of the ideas for a meaningful checkpoint here. I'm definitely not going to win this run at this point. So right now we also have a slow time ability. That's kind of to help players with these more difficult sections, and we also have a double jump. And we've got a checkpointing system. The yellow pickup refreshes all your abilities. And this section has actually always been a huge, harder part. So the fan here is sort of a second just good idea for a challenge in this case. Because at full speed, how are you going to get through here? But when time slows down, okay, I can start to think about stuff. So I'm going to give myself a few speed boosts. Then so this is kind of getting to one of the flaws of this build of the game. is it is definitely not designed for a beginner player. I haven't played this in years, so I'm struggling. Uh, so when I make a sequel to this game, it is going to be a lot more accessible to players who haven't played before. I also generally don't like the level design very much in this game. Uh, it was sort of designed. Oh, I must have made that gate easy at some point because I remember that thing being a nightmare to get through. It is sort of designed for the expert player. Oh, I said that part already. What I meant to say is, I did not consider level design a passion at the time, and I still don't. But now I'm a lot more committed to, like, working hard and dedicating myself to make good level design. Oh, that might be it. Oh, the fan got me. Okay. So, for example, I just don't think, like, the I'm not against this puzzle, but I think the proportions of it are all wrong. That might be it. Yep, there we go. Okay. 2 minutes left, which, as we can see, is actually quite a bit longer than 2 minutes. Like, this hallway, I don't like at all. I like the idea of these, like, mine things, but because there's no health in this game, they only really help you out. And here's where we see some fans that they're supposed to actually have a push force. They might be beneath it. So obviously this game is not very fleshed out. It's not very well developed. It was my introduction to coding a game in 3D. And we're going to drop down here. We're going to see we're gated off from this section. These yellow sections kind of launch you, by the way. So let's help me get across here. Oop. Yeah, timeline failed. We're into backup. And we made it across, though. We're in the fan room, I remember. Avoid the LCL. So in order to make this a solo project, I am pretty good at, like, hyper-realistic graphics. But I have aphantasia, so I can't visualize very well. So I actually just want to continue in the stylized direction. If you see this part where, like, the color is shifting, this game was made entirely of gray box brushes. But because this was an art school I did this at, I was getting outclassed, so I said, you know what, we learned about the post-process volume. At the very least, we'll, oh, I'm not going to make it. Yeah, I'm not going to make it. Oh, no, the timing resets. Okay. Well, I still fucked it up. So I added in a post-process volume to basically hue shift the game to give it some visual interest. And I still think the game will ultimately end up going in a similar direction. Let's let this time run out. Trying to beat this game for a playthrough video was actually a lot like trying to do a speedrun, just because it is not too easy of a game. You're on a timer. If you lose the timer, you pretty much have to redo the whole thing. Okay, I definitely need to launch with a jump there. But I can actually, if I go pretty quick, yeah, I'm not going to make it. Okay. But yeah, that's the kind of jump you need. Let's do a practice run here. Oh, I totally overshot. Honestly, I forget. I guess the blues launch you more vertical. I do not remember what the blues do. I actually ended up splicing my final submission because I was not yet good enough at the game. I designed the game to be the challenge level I wanted it to be for me who developed it, as opposed to a new time player. So I ended up with a really satisfying challenge, but and the splice wasn't actually to actually beat the game at all, it was to beat it without stuff like this where you reset a million times. Some other flaws in this game, and we'll probably see this later, you can't actually end up going fast enough to clip out of bounds. Okay, bounce off that. Originally, I intended this puzzle to be about redirects off those, but it actually turns out that for most of them, those body check kind of things work better. And we're about to see what happens when you lose. Okay. So, yeah, let's allow... let's fight it off. Let's fight off our deaths as long as we can. And we didn't do a good job. So the paper design said this was supposed to fully invert your speed, but it doesn't really do that if you did it at a wall. It'll cut a significant amount of it, but it won't fully cut it. And I actually like it more that way than the initial design. And here we get some lore. So basically, our ship blows up because we didn't get him a new core in time, and we are stranded here where we will be imprisoned. So we fail, game ends, we can play again. I haven't yet run out of stuff to say, so I won't yet. This is a light switch, what are you? This might have been meant to open like a tutorial door or something. I don't think it does anything at the minute. So we'll do the same thing. We'll come at a light speed. I haven't run out of things to say, so I won't start skipping time yet, but I might soon. Here we can watch the... I keep not coming back here to watch the core. It's obviously another thing. It's like the valve, in case of implosion, look at implosion. We need one of those. So now that I'm warmed up, I should be able to do a bit better. I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of uploading this onto YouTube. Obviously, this is not a good YouTube video. It's not designed to cater to the algorithm. It doesn't have high production value. I didn't write a script. The point of putting this on YouTube is to more or less incentivize myself to keep working. I think you get better redirects off yellow too, but I could be wrong about that. See him. That's not good enough. Okay. But, yeah, if this somehow finds success as I continue my devlogs, fantastic. A little bit of extra money, having an audience is nice, you know, and then in that case I'd probably up the production value a bit. But the game is not designed, or this series is not designed to succeed on YouTube. I will not cater to the algorithm. It's primarily uploaded in order to keep me accountable. And that's why I don't really care that I'm rambling, that I'm repeating myself, that I'm saying the wrong words. It's kind of whatever. What matters here is that I'm making a game. I graduated college almost a year ago now, and I have not touched game development besides a couple concept docs since. I'm hoping I burned out super hard. I'm hoping what will help keep me motivated is having a series like this. I've tried a couple times to start, but I was dealing with such serious burnout. Alright, we have 4 adjusted minutes to get through this puzzle this time. Hopefully I do better. But so why? I made 6 games at SCAD. I've made more games than that in my life, but the 6 I count are ones that have like a beginning and a middle and an end and a menu screen. I think 6 is the correct count. I would have to go back and do it. It might be 5. No, it is 6. I was thinking of a Game Jam game. I forgot. So, of those 6 games, this is kind of my favorite. It's my favorite because it is a solo project. It is the lowest production value game. It is probably the jankiest game. It's probably the worst written game in terms of code. But I still like this game a lot, and I like it a lot. You definitely get a vertical boost from yellow. Too high? Or not yellow, from blue. And we're gonna make it. No! Come on. But you can actually do it this way, I think, so that's your little cheat. If you actually finish the puzzle, You can do it in any end or any order. I also think it is the most accomplishable game to do again as a sequel. For a long time, I felt like I need to do a 2D game. I can't believe I fucked that up. Uh, but when it comes down to it, I'm not a good pixel artist, and I don't know a good pixel artist. Oh, Jesus. So, ultimately, I'm a better 3D artist, and while there's some aspects of 3D games, like certain physics jank, I am just sick of, uh, it's just a better idea considering my skill set. So this game is, I would say, unconventional. The way it's unconventional is just this movement. A core thing in this game is doing a 180, keeping track of what's behind you even when you're not looking at it. And that is not a skill most games are willing to ask of you. And it's a skill, for that reason, I'm really bad at right now. When I was developing this game, playing in the engine, playing with the mechanics for 10 weeks in a row, I guess 8 counting like early dev, but yeah, I got pretty good at dealing with these mechanics. Right now, I'm definitely not. And it's the fact that it goes against the market that makes me so enthused about getting it. I am sick of working with producers. My senior project was huge. It had like 70 people on it. Oh, I need to get a yellow there. I forgot. Wasn't keeping track. It was huge. It had like 70 people on it. And as a result of that, there's so many issues you get from a team that size. We also had about 6 months of pre-production and 6 months of production. I tried to get it to be 3 of pre and 9 of production, but that didn't happen. And ultimately, you can't make a game of the level of ambition we were trying to make in 6 months. It's on my website, ericnorfleet.com, where you can also get this game. I don't know if there's a release on that website, but there's like videos and trailers of it. Uh, ultimately, there's things I like about it. There's also things I really don't. Ultimately, it was way too janky to be a fun game. Uh, a lot of great art in there, but also places where the art direction didn't really get art directed. Uh, there's no game director on that game. I was in charge of design and programming. While being in charge of design and programming, I was essentially doing a lot of the roles of game director. We also had 2 student producers and 2 professors who were in roles you could say are similar to that of a producer. So, and I was doing like a lot of what a game designer would do, but sort of without that authority, I guess, of the game designer, game director. Um, and 4 producers, no director, and just little old me trying to get my ideas across is difficult because it's difficult to explain things to people. I'm a programmer-minded person, and the people there were largely art-minded, which makes it more difficult. Uh, and everyone sort of wants to constrain themselves to the demands of the market. The market doesn't want you to make a game like this. It doesn't want you to make a game that asks you to use skills that other games don't ask you to. Sometimes hard games, like Dark Souls, are successful, but from the perspective of a producer, of an executive, they don't tend to look at that. If you look at like God of War Ragnarok, where your son has to explain all the puzzles to you immediately in case you feel bad about not getting it, that becomes a whole design built around avoiding pain points. And ultimately, to me, I just don't really think that's like a game. That's like a thing. But I mean, sure, I guess it meets all the technical design criteria of a game, but it's not a game I want to play. Uh, it's a game I consider boring. Trying to remember the progression through this room. Oh, I need a yellow. Okay. I need to go. Here. Okay. Okay, these are just bounce pads all together. And I guess they do refresh your, so I need to hit that yellow on the way up. Okay. Big button. How am I going to press that? Ooh, this is a little... I think I can do this. Ah, no, I think you need that momentum. See, it's not a well-level designed game. I'm going to meet up with you when I get to this section again. Okay, so much better. So got 2 minutes and 42 seconds left. I first tried the fan room. I actually died to the dynamite hallway somehow, and I did better on this puzzle, but still not fantastic. Definitely me not remembering the sort of intended path is not helping here. I think I'm remembering a trick, though, to get through that easier. I think I want to wait, then go. No? Jeez. I think you can bypass that platform entirely, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you can. Okay. And I'm just going to need a better angle than that. Oh, I think if you redirect a yellow... Yeah, you get your stuff back. Okay, that's what it is. So the fact it took me 2/3 of this game to remember that is why it's gotta be changed a little bit. So yeah, I don't think... Okay, bad angle. Let's try again. Come on. Here we go. No! Okay. Okay, but let me start talking back about market conditions. So I think even indie games are just forcing themselves to constrain themselves to these idealized market conditions they've created in their head, as well as the AA studios who have kind of started to co-opt what used to be indie ideas. Man, this jump is hard. Oh, I might be able to double boost. That might be it. See, that sounds a little too slow, but I think I'm going to make it. Yep. Okay. I want to say I put a checkpoint up there, which I hope I did, because it's tough. When, kind of as a point of comparison, I've been playing The Binding of Isaac again lately, and one of the things that's awesome about Isaac is that it just doesn't care. That was kind of an exploit. There's an edge there. Can I sequence break? Nope. Yeah, I'm fucked. Okay. But Isaac was made to be unsuccessful. Edmund Macmillan thought no one would play it because it was too dirty or violent or whatever else. And it did really well. And ultimately, what I'm saying is that's what I want to do here. I want to make a game that appeals to me, that follows the set of principles I want to make. And, I'm going to hope that this game we're talking about, yeah, we'll do the sequence break. We'll hope, this might not be enough time, we'll hope that it does well enough to have market success, but if it doesn't, I'm full-time employed. It's not like a spectacular job, but I'm making more than rent, I'm saving money, and I'm okay with that, ultimately. Oh, I love this part, but I need to get a move on, or I'll be in trouble. So, the fluid drains. I get this. Okay, now I have unlimited redirects, so now I should be able to keep the game. Oh, I think I get a timer reset here, don't I? No, I don't. It pauses it for a minute, I guess. Yeah, I was just going that. I might have just been going that. No, I wasn't. Whatever. Okay. So we are returning to the ship post-haste. The way to do that is through the cylinder room. So originally these fans, oh, I need to get more speed. So this is the part where it's really easy to blast yourself outside the map. Okay. So those fans are like instantly lethal if you don't have the ability to give yourself infinite redirects by getting the quantum core. You know, putting the whole ship reactor into our suit. I think you scope and put it here. Yeah. I think you have to. I forget if you lose if you're gonna have time before the jump. Okay, yeah, we won. So it took me 3 game attempts to win, but I'm a rusty player. I mean, I'm the best player in the world, just rusty. And we get a lore dump here. So we've seen 2 endings. There's actually a 3rd ending, which is the one where you steal the core, but you don't escape in time, in which case the planet, you just get to watch the solar system explode and everybody in the game dies. Oh, I didn't enable intro, that's why I didn't see the intro. Intro time. So let's talk about what this game is. So because we just had 2 lore dumps, we can talk a little bit about the setting. This game is a sci-fi game. It takes place in the days of dying stars. So this is near the end of where the universe can create new stars. So all the stars are red giants like the one we'll see if we go in here. Red giants on the brink of collapse. And the line that kind of describes the setting is survival belongs to those who can grasp it with their own hands. So basically, your well-being and the well-being of the people who live in this system, which your ship calls Uncharted, but suspiciously seems to have infrastructure and people. I was trying to do 180s here when this is a game where it's much easier not to do 180s in. And I like that setting. I think it fits this kind of game. I think any sequel I make is going to keep the same conceit of you're essentially a thief with a parkour kit made of advanced technology. Obviously, reverse super hot has to stick, but that's not really a lore thing. That's just a fun gameplay mechanic. But I like the setting. I think it fits the type of game, and I want to develop it more. I like those shots of the bridge, even though it's obviously very underdeveloped. Uh, what else? Okay, so gameplay. So this is a first-person platformer with mechanics we would call unintuitive. But the thing to note about unintuitive mechanics is that a mechanic very unintuitive, for example, when it first came out, were games with camera controls. like the first 3D games. Like they didn't think after playtesting that the player could be trusted with a 3D camera in Mario 64. So instead they have Lucky 2 auto-following you, because if you give someone who's never played a 3D game before, they will be like, what the fuck is this? Because the thing about it is, we started playing games, most gamers, so young as kids, that we forgot that it was ever unintuitive to us. And also we learned a little quicker because we were kids, but I think that's besides my point right now. Uh, my point is basically, just because a mechanic is unintuitive doesn't mean you can't make a game around it, because lots of mechanics we take for granted used to be unintuitive before they became commonplace. So, yeah, this isn't something players are used to, but if you look at something like Getting Over It is one of my favorite games, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone looking at this kind of game which I made here, and the game I'm talking about making. Yeah, Getting Over It, one of my favorite games, completely unintuitive mechanic, but by the time you do, if you get Gold Pot, you're like, how is this mechanic ever unintuitive? How did I ever struggle on any of these sections? I'm doing really poorly because I'm talking. Uh, and yeah, so to me what that means is it's not wrong to make an unintuitive game. I do think it needs to onboard the player a little more gently. I think a game like Celeste has a great difficulty curve I want to emulate, where like early Celeste levels, like you die in them, but they're not brutal and devastating. I want this game to be longer in a finished version. Uh, Somewhere around like maybe 4 hours with more segmented checkpoints so you don't just completely get fucked up. If the game's longer, at this length, restarting the game is a fine penalty, especially because even though the difficulty... Oh, I missed one, shit. Which one did I miss? Or the code broke, who knows. Even though the difficulty is set too high for a beginner player, each puzzle is harder than the last. There we go. Okay. So because each puzzle is harder than the last, and the game's only 5 minutes or like 20 minutes long, it's a good difficulty curve. Visually, I want to keep it simple. Super Hot was one of the initial inspirations for the game as a whole, and I plan on leaning even closer into that with a more polygonized look, a more simple thing. I'll maybe try out scan lines because I started playing Animal Well recently and I was in love with that look, but uh, even that's a little... That might be a little much. This was made in Unreal 4. With Unreal 5, the emissive effects are better than ever. Like in this game, emissives couldn't actually cast light. They're point lights alongside the emissives, and that is very resource intensive. I ended up turning most of them off, actually, so they're just non-light casting emissives mostly, just green space bloom. Uh, Beyond that, I think a lot of the visual look will have to do with experimentation. So this is mainly intended to be a solo project, but some things will have to be outsourced. Music, obviously. I'm not a musician. I'm not going to become a musician for this. I'm learning piano a little bit, but I'm not going to be a composer in time to compose a game like this. So with that in mind, I should honestly just do the sequence break. It's kind of easier when you know about it. Even that to that sequence break is kind of easier than using this platform. probably gonna need it. Yeah. It helps out a lot to start your momentum in one direction with the double jump. These are definitely not fixed strength, huh? Oh, come on. Nope. We're probably gonna lose this again. I wanted to get the core so I could show that ending, but if I can't, I am not gonna lose my mind over it. Here we go. Okay, we can get the ending now, I think. This cube, sadly, I love this cube drop thing. I think that's gotta go. It's just ultimately, not in. I did it because we learned about destructibles in class that week, and I thought, oh, this would be a fun little thing. And it is a fun little thing. Look at it. It super hot is this game where you can kind of find tranquility in standing still. This is a game where the most tranquil moments are actually going to be when you're moving the fastest. One kind of flaw of this game is it means it needs massive spaces, which means it's hard to light. I mean, this room, I think, is kilometers across. That was a little physics bug. That was interesting. That's just an Unreal thing, I guess, launching me that high. Because this is default Unreal movement, just with all of the various drag components turned off. So longer, more discrete levels. I'm maybe thinking of making it more Metroidvania. This is kind of a Metroidvania structure. It's kind of more of a Doom structure right now because it uses literal keys, but then it does have one Metroidvania power-up in the form of the Quantum Core. Let's enjoy ourselves going fast for a minute. But yeah, this map is massive. It was impossible to light, so I ended up not lighting it. Stylized graphics will help with that. I want to make it longer, maybe Metroidvania. What else did I want to talk about? I think there's more. Oh, little game components. It needs more, like, blueprints, if you think of it in that Unreal sense. More just, stuff to interact with in the world that isn't a shape. So right now we have fans. I'm going to keep fans. I love fans. I think this is the perfect idea of, like, I can't get through this. Yes, I can. But yeah, if you just jump in this, you're fucked. I've never successfully just jumped through that. I think I will keep, like, the death fluid. Aesthetically, so a narrative thing I want to do, so the narrator of this game, I think is kind of implied but not stated to be your ship's AI. I've always thought of it that way. Yeah, with blue and yellow as well as game components. But I want to work in... I did not finish that game component thought. That's incredibly brain fried of me. But so I want to work in that AI is more of a character, possibly voice acted, which is another thing I'd have to outsource, obviously, hearing my voice. I also want the station you're going to be an AI. I think instead of being like this weird, pointless reactor room, I'm going to lean more into it being like the computer core with the reactor at the center. And to extend the game, you're dealing with all of these, like security checkpoints and trying to disable it. Meanwhile, as part of the multiple endings, instead of just losing being the ending where all the people on this planet get to live, instead of losing, it'll be more picking the other AI's side, even though it very initially tries to murder you. This like a reflective, stylized look is something I'm interested in, but I don't know if it's totally gonna fit. Unreal Engine 5 will do better with the emissives because of Lumen. I have my issues with Unreal 5 lighting features like Lumen and etc. I think they add noise and sometimes stutter, but I think for this game it'll probably be worth it. I want to keep it low resource intensity. I want a soundtrack. I do know, I'm not that close with him, but I did meet one electronic-ish composer, so he might be a good choice if he'd be willing to work on it. I want to get a very good prototype before I onboard anybody. There's issues of payment. I mean, I'm planning on developing this game on zero budget, so if I'm developing it on zero budget, it's gonna be hard to. Do I save up money from my job to commission people? Do I offer profit sharing? Uh, Either way feels. I mean, the saving up money just seems expensive. Profit sharing just seems kind of difficult. Uh, but I think it's an achievable goal. I think the hard parts for me are going to be level design. Uh, it's also a hard game to balance because, I mean, you can just take the Bennett Foddy approach, but you do just make it hard. But I just don't know if that's a great fit. Obviously, a tutorial, uh, not a I'm going to talk at you tutorial, but more of just here's you have to understand fundamental aspects of this game to get through this room. There's little nuances to the game, like the fact that you often want to use your double jump right before redirect to get more height, like jump redirect, double jump redirect. They're pretty similar there. It's not a great room to do it in, but it does definitely boost your height quite a bit to do that. Also, I think forward speed becomes height because redirecting isn't totally a momentum redirect, but it is partially a momentum redirect. So the more speed you build, I believe, the faster you can just, the higher you'll go on a single one. Even this room is just absolutely massive, even when like from the wrong angle because of the low detail. Doesn't look that big, but it's pretty big. I'm more or less running out of things to say, and I've gone way longer. I thought maybe 20 minutes. This has been 40. But I wanted to get my thoughts out there. I wanted to say them all. What's going to come next is a one-pager. That'll be the next devlog. That could be weeks. It could be a month. It could be tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'll find the energy or the time to do it. My job or ends at different times, so I might end up coming back early a bunch and having tons of energy, or going back late and not. Or I could give up altogether, but if I do, this will be my pillar of shame. I don't expect most videos to be nearly this long. Mainly it's like, I wanted to re-explore this game for myself. Hadn't touched it in years before this video. I want anyone who's like, oh, I'm going to follow along this journey, I want them to know the ins and outs of this game, and generally my plans for a sequel. I mean, I hope the sequel goes well, and I find financial success, and I can quit my job and become a lazy game dev who spends years and years on another game that isn't nearly as good, but because of the lack of financial pressure, which has happened an unfortunate number of times to indie devs in my view. But if not, if this is just a game that makes me a couple $100 on itch, or no one buys, but I made and I like it and I'm happy, I think I've done something right. Alright, well, I'm going to sign off now. If anyone somehow listened to all this. Good on you, bad on you, I guess. Man, I forget why this game tries to launch Steam VR. I think I just had it. I had VR enabled for my UE4 install, and it just auto-packaged it. That's annoying. Anyway, signing off.